So let's begin with the next topic of electrical conduction. In the previous video you have come across what actually is happening inside a silicon crystal, correct? No? Which is a semiconductor. I have told you all why we are studying about silicon, because it is a semiconductor, and I am teaching you all in depth regarding the semiconductor. So one example I have taken is silicon. Okay, in your book it might be germanium or any other crystal, but you can write any example whichever you want to. So my example I have taken is silicon. It's a simple crystal with 4 free electrons. We have seen that already, the creation of holes, why it is, how it is created, and what is the use of hole and electrons. Okay, so with that we will move on to the next small concept, which is nothing but an electrical conduction. So over here, electrical conduction means simply nothing but how does this material, okay, any material, conduct electricity? Okay, how does it actually conduct electricity? So to understand in practical sense, I want you all to turn on your imaginations. Okay, so switch it on and then imagine a silicon crystal. Okay, this is a silicon crystal. I have already told you all how does it look in a molecular level. So this is how it will look like, with all the nuclei surrounded around, okay, just arranging themselves in the form of a diamond pattern. We have studied that as usual. So all these nuclei, silicon nuclei, will arrange themselves in a proper pattern, and then they undergo covalent bonding. We already understood that, and then these sharing of electrons takes place. Then right now, a stable, I told you all, at a stable 0 Kelvin, that is 0 Kelvin, a silicon crystal is completely stable. That means there is no sharing of electron taking place, right? So at that temperature or whatever, at that particular time, there are no free electrons available. Okay, there are no free electrons available. So, but what happens as soon as we try to pass an electricity, okay, any random way, if we try to pass an electricity through a crystal, what will happen? So let's see what is that thing. So this is a silicon crystal which I have already drawn it and which I have already learnt about it. I will apply a potential difference. Okay, I will apply a potential difference to that crystal. So applying electricity means I am just giving a potential difference. So potential difference is nothing but you have studied in the lower classes, that is in the 10th grade, saying that if at all electrons need to move, there should be a difference between their pressures, correct or not? That was the same thing example you had in your 10th grade textbook, that is about water in a pipe or a tube, something like that. If at all that tube was completely horizontal, there would be no movement of water molecules. If the pipe was slightly elevated in one side and was below in the other side, water will start flowing. The same way, this particular elevation is called as a potential difference. Okay, so that potential difference is applied in electrical sense as well. So what I am doing is I am just giving a difference in energy, so that these electrons, the energy level of these electrons change. So that when it changes, the electrons will start moving from one point to another. So the same thing is going to happen. I am applying the potential difference with the help of a battery. Okay, anything? So you can think of I am applying the switch, something like this, and applying the potential difference. So this is the battery, so positive end, and the negative end. The potential difference will allow the current to, before passing the current will not start moving. Why? Because we still don't know how is that particular conduction taking place. So right now I am applying the potential difference. So the potential difference is applied. So soon as that, what happens over here is one of the electron, these free electrons and holes, are there. You know that the bonding has already taken place between the electrons, that is covalent bonding has already been taken place, and when it is in the when the temperature is brought into the room temperature, the free electrons are created. Okay, so now what I am doing is I am applying the potential difference at room temperature. At room temperature, what has already happened? That means 0 degree Kelvin, it is completely stable, which means there are no free electrons available, right? So now I bring the silicon crystal to the room temperature. So this silicon crystal is at room temperature, which means at room temperature already the creation of electron hole pair is done. which means there are free electrons as well as the holes are also created. Yes or no? So at this temperature, holes and electrons are already ready. So which means these electrons, when I apply the positive potential difference on one side, the electrons, this will be the positive side, correct? No? When I apply the positive potential difference, this will be the positive end. All the electrons which has been already broken from the bonding, due to the temperature which is in the room temperature, these free electrons will arrange themselves in one particular corner. These all electrons are negatively charged. I hope you know that one. So electrons get arranged themselves in the positive side of this potential difference. Okay. Then the other side, which is nothing but my holes, which are positive. Holes are nothing but positive, and these will arrange in the other direction. That is nothing but my negative direction. The negative end of the potential difference is here. So all of these positive charge, I told you all holes behave like a positive charge, but it is not a physical quantity. These charges or these positive things will arrange themselves here. So this end will become positive. Yes. So you see that there is a difference in this ions, the difference in the charges present over here. So we all know that the electrons are moving in this direction. Okay, electrons are moving in this direction. So what happens when electrons move? We already know the movement of electrons is nothing but electricity, that is current generation is done. Not generation, movement, sorry. So current is movement. There is a movement of current around it as soon as the electrons move from one point to another point. So that is what we are understood over here is the electrons start moving this side and the holes start moving the other side, which means the charges coming from here to here will pass from this to this direction, which means the conduction is taking place. Conduction takes place from the positive end to the potential difference to the negative end of the potential difference. Okay, so this is how it is. You can reverse the conduction as well by changing the polarity of the battery. That means if I make this as a negative end, all the holes will come and stand this side, and the electrons will stand on the opposite side, which means that there is a movement of electrons and holes continuously, which creates a movement of current within the conductor, and that's how the electrical conduction actually takes place when you have imagined the silicon crystal in your imagination. Clear? So this is the electrical conduction, how it takes place in a material. It can be any material. For in this case, I am taking a semiconducting material. So this is how the electrical conduction takes place in a semiconducting material by the creation of electron-hole pair. Okay, so then over here we need to move on to the next main important theory, that is band energy theory. Okay, so we'll move on with that. We need to understand it much in depth, because in your textbook it is too many information has been given. I don't know, it will be a little difficult for you all to understand the words present over there, or maybe reading it feels boring, whatever it is. So I want you all to listen to this carefully and understand the electron band energy theorem. So this is the base of semiconductors, insulators and conductors. Okay, but this is the main thing which differentiates between these three things. Okay, this particular topic in this chapter is going to be a very important thing. The main reason why I am going in depth and very slowly, because it is very important for your JEE questions and NEET questions. So along with the chapter, I am explaining everything needed for your competitive exams. Okay, so that's the reason the explanation is going very slowly and in depth. So no problem, I will finish the questions, I guarantee all that. So watching the videos and preparing the notes is all up to you all. So you all have to do it, and once there is a slow pickup of pace, I can make the videos little more faster. I'm slowly getting used to this editing process and uploading things and all. So hopefully in another month I will be uploading the chapter together itself. Okay, let's hope that, and you all pray as well. So quickly we can finish off the chapters, and you can watch these videos again and again in case you all have doubt. And please, one main thing I need to tell you all is, you will not understand the video, you will not understand the topic if you just watch this video once. Okay, you need to watch this repeatedly and just keep your notes in front of you and study what and all I'm trying to explain. Yes, I'm going a little slow and in complete depth, but these are the things what is included in your syllabus. I'm not just doing it randomly. Okay, I am keeping the syllabus in mind and then I'm going through this. Clear? In order to connect into your syllabus, there are certain things which is out of your syllabus, maybe not into the syllabus. So that I need to explain to you all in order to connect the syllabus together. In your textbook or in your syllabus, it is something like one topic is there, the other topic is completely different than the other. There is a certain gap in between. I want to connect those two topics. That's the reason the explanation takes a lot of time. Okay. So once you have understood this, like one chapter is clearly understood, you can crack any level questions out of it. So there is nothing like difficult and easy and all that. Okay. So we will quickly move on to the topics and wind up the chapter as soon as possible. So I need your cooperation. I need everyone to complete their notes and send me, so that yes, I know that you all are understanding something and you all are working for whatever I'm sending. So if something feels worth it when you all give me back the feedback, and also your notes has been written clearly, so that means a lot when you all do that for me. Okay, so please keep on sending the notes and complete it as soon as possible. I've seen most of you all do not write the notes or do not respond to any of the videos which I've already sent, so I don't even know whether you are checking it or not, or whether these videos are simply being uploaded and nobody watches it. It doesn't matter, it's not a loss to me, so it's all up to you all. So finish it off and move on with the portions as soon as possible. Okay, I'm trying my best to explain the things as interesting as possible. So we'll move on with the topics. This is about the band energy theory. I just spoke about it. So in this one, the word band, I will explain the English meaning of this heading. So band means what? The English meaning of band. You all will tell that okay, that Dasara band or not those bands. Okay, the ones which make sound. It's not that. So something like I can tell you all your hair band. Okay, the hair band. Yes, it is something similar to that. I don't know, the women, like girls, whoever are wearing a band, it's something like this, a ribbon kind of a thing with an elastic, something like that. Yeah, that thing. Keep that in mind for now. Okay, keep that in mind. It's not, we are not learning about the ladies' hairband and all that. We are just comparing that type of a system, that is the electron system, into a band. That is a complete a line, system of lines. Okay, something like that, a graphical representation. So band means a collection of values, something like a band of values. Okay, something like this. So two parallel lines and this thing. Okay, something like this. I write it like this. This is a band. Okay, it's a band. Two parallel lines or an area of two parallel lines. That is nothing but a band. So learning about that. So band energy, you all know what is energy already. So meaning of energy is a capacity to do work. That's a common definition. Yes. The energy is nothing but how much of work you can do. That is the energy what they are talking about. How much of energy an electron has. Now the band energy together means the electrons has different energies, and that energies will be arranged in the form of a band. Not by nature. We are arranging it in such a way to understand the studies. Okay, to understand how these electrons react with each other and how can we arrange them in certain way so that for our study it becomes a little easier. Clear? So we are arranging themselves into the form of a band. That is a lower energy band, a middle energy band, and a higher energy band, like that. Okay, so we are arranging them into different levels, and that particular thing is called as band energy. And the theory is not something, it would be stupid if I try to explain that also. We are learning about the band energy, and that full topic is nothing but a band energy theory. Okay, so starting with the topic in detail, getting into the subject completely. So first thing we need to know about band energy theory is a silicon atom. I am taking an example. Once again, I am just taking the silicon atom as an example throughout this explanation, like all of these explanations. It's not necessary for you all to only learn silicon. It can be anything. So mainly this chapter is based on semiconductor electronics, semiconductors. So I am taking the silicon, which is a very good example for a semiconductor. So now I'm taking a silicon atom. Once again, a silicon atom, not a molecule or not a crystal. Clear? I will get to why I am stressing on the word atom. I will get to it when I go into the next topic. Don't look there. Do not look there. Just look at here. Okay? I know your eyes are going all around. What and all nonsense I have written, but still, just look here. So what I am trying to explain over here is, consider a silicon atom. I am pretty sure you all have seen this particular diagram before. Okay? If not, I'll explain what it is. There is a silicon nuclei in a silicon atom. There is a silicon nuclei. The silicon nuclei is here, and there are different orbits, that is different electron shell. Yes, electronic configuration cell. So the shell. So these shells I am drawing it like this. These are orbits. There is 1, 2, 3 orbits. Okay, that is S, P, D, F shell, like that. Clear? So that I know that the first orbit is filled by the 2 electrons. Yes. The first orbit is filled by 2 electrons. The second one is filled by 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 electrons. Yes, we have done that. Then the outermost orbit is filled with 4 electrons. The outermost orbit is filled with 4 electrons. And these electrons are free for bonding. That means there are the outermost shell, there are 4 free electrons available in a silicon atom. And these electrons are, doesn't mean they are free, means they are not doing anything. What they are doing is they are revolving, they are moving on around. Here, this will come here, this will come here, it will just be going on around. These 4 electrons will be simply moving on around. And these electrons will not simply move on around, not like that. Yes, they are not moving simply random pattern, they are following a certain pattern, that is a circular motion. They follow this pattern of revolving around the nuclei. They revolve around the nucleus. Why do they do that? Good question. Yes, somebody asked that question. Why do they revolve around the nuclei? Why don't they go away? And very good, you all have answered it already. It is because the nucleus is pulling them towards the center with the centripetal force. I hope you all know what it means. The nuclei, which is here, it has a nuclear energy, obviously. You know the strongest form of energy is the nuclear energy, even more than that of a gravitational force. So this one pulls the outermost electrons. I mean, all the electrons are attracted, of course. Even the outermost electrons are getting attracted towards the center. Okay, all these electrons are getting attracted towards the center. And even though they want to go out, they will be pulled towards the center. Even though this one wants to go out, it will be pulled towards the center. It will be pulled towards the center. That's how a circular motion is kept intact by a nuclei. Okay, that is by a nucleus. So silicon here, this will help the outermost electrons to be revolving around it in a circular pattern. So then these energies outside, that these electrons outside of an electron will be same. The energy of these electrons will be the same. Why? Because this is an atom and only one nucleus is present, and that nucleus will be attracting all the electrons in the same force. Yes, this nuclei will be attracting all the electrons in the same force. That's the reason the energy in every electron will be the same. Every electron here, there, everywhere, it will be the same in an atom. Again, I am stressing it. And they will be revolving in the same speed. These electrons all will be revolving in the same speed. It will not be like the outermost one very faster, slower or something. Okay? So the outermost orbit electrons will be revolving in the same speed. I am not talking about inner, okay? These two shells I am not talking at all. Yes, their speed will vary because they are very closer to the nuclei. They are much slower compared to that of the outer ones, because this nucleus will attract them in the greater force, whereas the outer ones will be attracted with a lesser force, which means the outer orbit, all the electrons present will be revolving in the same speed and they will be having same energy. Done. And this speed is due to the centripetal force. Centripetal force of what? Centripetal force of nucleus, centripetal force of the nucleus. And this is, the force is due to Speed is due to what? Force is due to the nuclear energy or nuclear force. Okay, force is because of the nucleus. I can simply tell force is due to the nucleus. That is silicon nucleus is an example which I will. Silicon nucleus. That's in Arabic. I'm very bad when writing in front of a camera, and that's the reason I prepare everything and then keep on talking. It feels so weird to talk to in front of a camera, and there is nobody around, and some people walking here and they will just stare at me. What these people are doing. So that's nervousness and irritation happens. So please adjust with these things, whatever I'm trying to do. So, but I'm trying my best to give the explanation as it is. Okay, so let's go on. So force is mainly due to the nucleus. The speed is nothing but the centripetal, because of the centripetal force exerted by the nucleus, and because of that, whatever the energy levels of the electrons present will be same, and they will be revolving in the same speed. Okay, they will be revolving in the same speed. Why did I tell that? Why? Because I want you all to understand a silicon atom energy levels, everything will be same. But when it comes to a crystal, silicon, nobody will take an atom separately, which is not even visible to us. It is not possible for us to take an atom and then study on it. What we are doing is, we'll take a silicon crystal, which is available for us. Yes? Yes, it is available. It's the sand and all that is nothing but silicon crystals. The sand which is available is silicon crystal. That one sand, a gram of a sand, if I take also, it is nothing but a combination of thousands of nuclei of silicon, and then they are in the shape of a diamond arranged in certain way. And the combination of many nuclei that means I can say in the silicon crystal, I know this is the structure because of the covalent bonding formation, and this is the diamond structure of silicon. And this silicon structure, it's nothing but a silicon molecule also, I can tell. Here, you can see there is not only one nucleus present, not only one nucleus present. There are so many other nucleus present, which contains, there are so many other 4 electrons outermost. I'm just drawing there are other this shell is also in it, okay? There are other shells as I've drawn here. This one thing is one part, but this full thing is available so many of them. This one atom is available so many of them, which means there are many nucleus present around in a silicon crystal. So what will happen to the electrons in the outermost shell? Let us consider one example of this electron, maybe any one electron over here. I'll take an example of this one electron. This one electron, okay, it is experiencing a force due to this nucleus. But nuclear forces are very huge thing. So obviously this nucleus will also exert a certain force on this one. Yes or no? I'm just taking an example of this electron. All the other electrons are also experiencing the same way of force here. So this electron will be experiencing a force due to this nucleus also, this nucleus also, this one also this one. Yes. So which means these all nucleus will attract with the centripetal force for this electron. But are these forces same? I mean, all the forces attract which it is pulling or pushing, whether it is the same, pull it with a certain force which is different from other. Why? Because they are at a different distance. Their distance between that electron is different. This one is different, this one is different, the distances here are different. So which means obviously I can tell this one exerts the maximum pressure, maximum force out of it. This one will be the next, this one will be the next, and this will be the least, and this will be the least. Okay, you don't need to know all that thing. Just I'm telling you all, this is how it works. And that's why one electron in a silicon crystal will experience different forces, different amount of forces because of the presence of the other nucleus of silicon. In a silicon atom, it experiences the outermost shell of the electrons will experience same amount of force. That's why it is having same energy levels. Yes. Same way in a silicon crystal, it experiences different amount of forces, different amount of energy. Different amount of forces because of the different nucleus, and that's the reason I can easily tell that every electron or one electron, whichever we have considered, will have different energy levels. That means different energy because of the changes in its distance. Clear? So that difference in energy is the one which arises for us to group them into categories. The electrons will be grouped into certain categories, and that is nothing but the band energy theory. And that is why we need to learn about the band energy theory, so that we can classify these electrons based on the energy levels and understand what type of a material it is. Clear? So that's what I'm trying to tell over here is, this is a silicon crystal molecule, and here the free electrons experiences many forces due to the presence of many nuclei. Okay? So there are many nuclei present, they experience different forces due to that nuclei, and therefore due to this difference in forces, each set of electrons will have different energy levels. And that's how we can classify these electrons into different energy levels. And these energy levels are the ones which we'll be learning in the next video. That is about the conduction, different bands. How do we classify them into different bands? Okay, so we will begin with that one quickly.